So once you have your two couch cushions and your blanket, we'll just set those off to the side to start. We won't be using them until closer to the end of class. So find a spot that makes sense where they are accessible but not in the way right now. And then once you've done that, you can find your way to your seat, and we're just going to extend our legs out in front of us to start. So restorative yoga is a lot of slowing down the nervous system, getting everything into a parasympathetic, restful state. But it can be hard to just all of a sudden jump into that state, or impossible. So we'll kind of slowly ease our way into the restorative postures that we'll be holding for longer periods of time. So we're going to start off just with kind of welcoming our body here and doing some little bits of movement and breathing before we slow down even further. So we'll start with our legs stretched out, and maybe start with just taking a nice breath, kind of noticing that you are here, welcoming yourself here. And I'll kind of start to talk you through noticing different parts of your body from your toes all the way up to your head. And we'll do some movements. You're welcome to keep your eyes open or closed. And we'll start by bringing our attention to our toes. So first, as you draw your attention there, you can just kind of wiggle the toes around, maybe stretch them back towards your face a little bit, and then stretch them forward. Maybe that tilts the feet forward too and stretches the ankle a bit. And just play around with creating some space between the toes, stretching them in different directions, squeezing them tight, and then releasing them a few times like that, squeezing them tight and releasing. And then notice your whole foot and start to bring some movement into both of your feet. So flexing the feet, pointing the toes back, creating a lot of space on the bottom of the feet, and then pointing them, lengthening the tops of the feet, stretching the ankles, and continuing to do some of these points and flex. Bring some breath into it, maybe inhale as you flex your feet, and a nice long exhale as you point. And perhaps even taking some little ankle rolls, whatever you can access. And bringing that movement to stillness and allowing your attention to move up your legs into your knees and just starting to play around with bending and straightening your knees a little bit. And maybe bring some breath into this too, rising the knees up slightly, creating some space between the knees and the floor on your inhale. And then on your exhale, straightening your legs, lowering the knees back down. And then keeping your attention in your feet, your toes, your legs. We'll start to bring the soles of the feet together. So you're creating a diamond shape with your legs. Soles of the feet together, and Bring your hands to your feet and find a little bit of massage for the bottoms of your feet. Squeezing, releasing, and taking a few soothing breaths, welcoming the inhale and releasing all the way out with each exhale. From here, we'll cross our legs if that feels okay for you. Otherwise, you can find another way of sitting. Cross our legs and we'll let our palms rest face down. We'll start to make our way up into our hips, drawing our attention to our hips. And we'll just start to make some gentle circles with the upper body. And as you keep your attention on your hips, notice if one hip pops up as you roll your body off to one side. And try to keep both of those sitting bones and those hips grounded down as you make your way around, spiraling the chest, the upper body in one direction. And then finding that same spiraling in the other direction. Perhaps taking a moment to close the eyes, to begin to move inward. Tune in, feel the room that you're in, and then eventually drawing your attention from outside of you all the way in through your skin. And then slowing down that motion. So instead of stopping quickly, we'll just kind of slow it down, make those circles smaller and tighter, spiraling towards the center. And then resting in your seat with a nice long spine, shoulders relax. Deep breath in through the nose. And then let's exhale through the mouth this time. Bring your attention to your spine and your entire back body. So often we're moving forward and paying attention to what's in front of us. So start to notice what's behind you. And just feel the space behind you, and then feel your whole back resting in that space. And take a couple of breaths to try to lengthen the spine a little bit. Imagining your breath flowing upward along the spine as you inhale, and then downward, rooting you down as you exhale. And then we'll take a clasp of the hands. So we'll clasp the fingers together and then flip so your the palms of your hands are pushing outward. And you're creating a little bit of extra space in the back body between the shoulder blades. So you're kind of hugging your arms in towards each other, pushing your palms out, and perhaps even dropping your head. Take a few breaths here into that newly formed space in the back. And then slowly bending the elbows, release the clasp of your hands. Palms come to rest at your legs again. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now start to bring your attention to the front side of your body. So perhaps that requires a little bit of drawing the shoulders back, broadening through the collarbones, opening up the throat a little bit, feeling that sense of moving forward, kind of a big, proud chest. And take a few breaths here, visualizing the breath flowing up your front body to your throat, and then all the way back down. And then we'll clasp the hands again, but this time behind our back. And we'll draw the clasp down, so that should create a little bit more space in the front body, between the shoulders, between the collarbones. And draw the knuckles downward, draw the shoulders back, and breathe into that newly created space. And slowly start to release the clasp of the hands. Again, let them come to rest on your legs. And continuing to draw our attention upward, start to notice your shoulders. See if you can release just a little bit more tension in your shoulders. I find that for me, there's often some lingering holding there. And if I can just invite myself to relax, there's usually a little bit more to release. So see if you can access that little bit more of release there. And then take some nice gentle shoulder rolls in one direction, doesn't matter. Remembering to invite your breath to guide each circle. Breathing in, rising the shoulders up by the ears. Breathing out, releasing them back behind you. Continuous flow of breath and of movement. And then roll those shoulders the other way. And then start to gently slow those shoulder rolls down. And eventually just letting the shoulders rest away from the earlobes. Let your head gently fall off to the right side, drawing your right ear towards your right shoulder. Take a deep breath in through the nose here. And out through the mouth. Begin to roll your head in one direction. And taking the head rolls nice and slow, pausing at any points that feel really good or really interesting. And then the next time your head rolls off to the left side, you can stop there so that your left ear is released down towards your left shoulder. And take a deep breath into the nose. Exhale through the mouth, settle in. And then let your head start to roll in that opposite direction. Nice and slow. Gently waking up the neck and the head and the throat. And then eventually slowing that down and finding a nice balanced position for your head to rest. Lining up your neck with your spine. Let's switch the cross of our legs. So whichever leg was in front, move it behind. Also, if you need to kind of straighten out your legs for a little moment and just wiggle those knees, welcome to do so. And we're just going to do a little bit of breathing now that we've brought some awareness to our whole physical body. We'll do just a little bit of a breathing exercise before moving into some of the longer holds. So Mary, it looks like you just joined us. Just so you know, we'll be using a blanket and 2 couch cushions today, so you can grab those. Once you find yourself seated, if there's any other fidgets that you need to get out or any stretches that we didn't touch on during that kind of warm up, you can definitely find that for yourself. And we'll flip the palms so that your palms are resting face up on your legs. And if it's comfortable for you, allow your eyes to close. And start to really bring your attention and your awareness to your hands. Noticing the negative space between your fingers. Noticing the space in your palms. Noticing if the space that your palms are kind of holding, that has a certain quality to it. Does it feel light or heavy, cold, warm, wet, dry? And then we'll all take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, start to close the palms, making a fist with your hands in your lap. And then inhale, release like a flower blooming. Start to open up the palms again. So we'll continue like that. Exhale, closing up, curling the fingers in to a fist. And then inhale, opening up, widening, maybe feeling that opening flow through the rest of you as well. Closing on the exhale. Nice and slow. And you'll continue this on your own a few more times. We'll do about 3 more breaths. Let them be slow and long. And then the next time you inhale and open up your hands, on your exhale, you can keep your palms open. If your eyes are closed, you can gently open them up. And we'll start to make our way onto our backs. We're not going to use our props quite yet. We will in a moment. But first, and you can take the transition really slowly. It's nice to use the transitions as part of the class too. So slowly and mindfully make your way all the way to your back. Stretch your legs out, stretch your arms out. This doesn't need to look any particular way. We're just making contact with the ground here. And just take a deep breath just to arrive in this much different shape than we were just finding ourselves in. Breath in and breath out to settle the body. And then moving from your toes to the crown of your head, take a few moments to notice where your body is not touching the floor. So there might be some very clear points of contact that your body has with the ground. And then there might be some space where your body just doesn't come all the way down because of the natural curves and shapes and architecture of our bodies. So take a moment to notice those spots where you're not exactly resting on the ground. And as you do so, keep in mind that the purpose of restorative yoga, or one of the many purposes, is to fill in those spaces. So rather than forcing our body down to meet the earth, we're actually going to be bringing the floor up to us with the use of blankets, cushions, blocks, etc. So as you notice these spaces, just keep in mind that we'll be using a bunch of different supports to bring the floor up to meet us. And slowly start to hug the knees in towards the chest as you finished noticing those gaps. Wrap the arms around your legs. Take some gentle rocks from side to side. And then roll yourself off to the right side. Take a moment to rest there. And then start to guide yourself all the way back up to sit. And as you make your way back up, you'll kind of bring your props with you. So if your blanket and your cushions are within reach, now is a good time to bring them closer. And with each of these postures, it will take a little bit of time for me to explain getting you into it, and then we'll be in it for 3 to 5 minutes each. So there's a little bit of prep involved, but then some deep rest within them. So we're going to be moving into a supported twist. You're welcome to use 1 or 2 cushions, and I'll demonstrate with 2. So you'll set them up stacked on top of each other. In line with your mat. And then your blanket, you're going to want to fold up into a small square or rectangle. Your blanket will be to go between your knees. So you can let it rest off to the side for a moment. And then you're going to bring your right hip, and you can totally watch me first if you want to. You bring your right hip to the cushions. So you're kind of sitting off next to it. And then you'll bring your blanket in between your knees. You'll kind of just sandwich that. Your knees don't have to be stacked or anything. You can kind of splay them too. Your hands will come to frame your cushions. And you'll kind of find a little bit of twist here as you begin to lay your upper body down. So kind of lengthening the spine as you line it up with the bolsters, and it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up. And then you'll start to relax down. You can decide which side you want your face to be resting. But once you find yourself here, you can soften or close the eyes. Let kind of all the tension melt out of your face. Let your elbows hang. Let your shoulders rest into the cushions. Let your breath be nice and gentle. We'll be here for a few minutes. And we'll very slowly start to make our way to the opposite side. So maybe that starts with just taking a cleansing breath and then putting weight in the palms, rising the head, rising the chest, walking the hands back towards your hips. And then before you make your way all the way to that left side, we'll just take a moment in between to just rest the spine back. Let the arms rest outward. And then stay here for about 5 breaths. And then after those 5 breaths, you can start to make your way into that twist on the left side, bringing the left hip to the edge of the cushions, positioning a blanket between the legs, framing the cushions with the arms, and then releasing down as you're ready. And again, we'll slowly start to make our way out. So you can start by taking a breath, shifting the weight into the palms, and pushing to rise the head, rise the chest, and then walk the hands back in towards you. And once more, we'll pause in between, letting the spine rest back on the cushions for 5 breaths. After those 5 breaths are complete, we'll let ourselves roll off to the right side. So letting yourself roll over your cushions and then just off on the floor, taking a moment and then pushing yourself all the way up. So next we'll be using just one cushion. So you can set your other one off to the side. And you can also set your blanket off to the side for now. And you'll rotate the cushion so that it's perpendicular to the mat. And we're going to find a little bit of a back bend laying on the cushion. So you'll start with your feet planted, and you might need to do some adjusting as you go, but kind of guess where that cushion's going to go. And you want your shoulders to be hanging off. And depending on how big your cushion is, you may or may not be able to extend your arms out. When I'm using a bolster, I can extend my arms out pretty easily, but with this cushion, it's harder. So your head will be resting on the ground. Start with your feet planted. And you'll feel that curve in the lower part of your spine, in your sacrum. And you'll feel kind of a curve in the neck too. And so your cushion is kind of in your upper back by your shoulders. And your palms, maybe they want to rest on your belly, maybe they want to extend outward. Maybe your legs want to extend outward. Play around with different variations. And then once you find a place that is comfortable, just find that point of rest. And the goal of all of these is comfort and ease. So if you're not finding that, you can do anything else that is comfortable and easeful for you, even if that's just laying on the ground with nothing. So my words are here to guide you, but whatever you need to do is just perfect. So we'll be here for a couple of minutes. Relax your face, relax your jaw. Breathe into the opening of the chest. Take a couple of deeper breaths to reawaken. And then we'll start to just roll ourselves off to the right side. Making your way off of your cushion. And just resting in fetal position. And then pushing yourself all the way back up to your seat. So we'll take one more restorative shape before Shavasana. And if you love this one and you want it to be your Shavasana, you can just stay in it for extra. We'll use one cushion and we'll use a blanket. So the cushion will be closer to where our legs are going to be stretched out, and the blanket will be closer to where our head is going to be resting. So with your blanket, you're going to want to make a rectangle around this size, and I'm going to bring this a little closer. You're going to want to make it around this size, and you might see how I have like a little gap here. So there, it's folded, but you're going to leave a little space at the bottom. And this single layer down here is going to be where your shoulders are resting. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Also, if you have any questions as we move through this, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try to keep checking. It's definitely different teaching this over Zoom and in person. I could kind of see people's setups a little better. But once you have that, assuming that's clear enough, you can put that down where your head is going to be. And we're going to be making a really nice support for our head and neck with this blanket. When I learned this, I learned it as something called the cosmic headrest. And I like that name for it. This cushion here is going to be for underneath our knees. So you can start to make your way down, and then I'll talk you through the headrest. And if it's not making sense, you can kind of look at what I'm doing too. So cushion is supporting underneath your knees. Again, you might need to do some playing around, making sure that the blanket's in the right spot, and check that that extra flap at the bottom is where your shoulders are resting. Okay, so once you find yourself there, you're going to take the, how do I describe this? The edges of the blanket that are closer to your shoulders, but we're not going to do any folding with that extra flap, that like 2-inch flap that your shoulders are on. Just leave that as it is. You're going to take the other corners that are not the extra flap and hold those with your hands, and then tuck them underneath. So you're bringing the corners kind of in towards each other, and you're tucking them underneath your head. Okay, so once you've done a little tuck with those corners, you're going to move your hands to the upper corners of your blanket. So those are the corners that are closer to your head, not your shoulders. So once you find those corners, those far corners, you're going to do also a little tuck, bringing those corners in towards each other, towards the center of the back of your head. So the bottom two corners we're tucking up towards the center of the back of your head from the bottom. And these other corners are tucking in that direction too, but coming from the top. So you might need to do a little extra scrunching, make sure it feels really nice and supportive. And if that made no sense, feel free to not do it at all. But if it made some sense, or you can kind of figure out what I meant, Try to rest your head and your neck into that. Release the arms by your side and just be still. And now's a good time if you want to stay just as you are, that's great. Or if you want to take any other version of a final resting pose, you can make your way into something that would feel nourishing for you. And we'll spend these last few moments letting everything soak in, really slowing our systems down even more, reminding ourselves that it's okay, it's safe to rest, it's what our systems need more of a lot of the time. And it's not easy, so bringing some of that gentleness and forgiveness too if you're feeling restless or mind is racing. It's all okay. And I have something to read to you during these last few minutes. And it's sort of long, so feel free to tune it out if you need to, or just kind of let the words wash over you. And it's from a book that I like to read a lot during yoga classes called The Way of Rest by Jeff Foster. And this passage is called Reasons to Celebrate. When you are confused, celebrate. In this moment, you're free from having to know, liberated from the burden of expertise. There is no step from confusion to clarity. You clearly see confusion, and so clarity is already closer. When you have doubts, celebrate. You have remained curious, and you haven't settled for secondhand answers, nor fixated on a conclusion. You're free from certainty, the great weapon of the ego. When you feel fear, celebrate. You are moving into the unknown, leaving the known world, dying world, the old world, stepping into the new. Fear and excitement are so close here. Fear is trying to protect you. Bow to it. When you feel anger, celebrate. Feel its ferocity, its power, the cry of the velociraptor. Life is surging you raw, unfiltered. You are on the verge of finding your song, fighting for a cause with passion, standing up for those without a voice, knowing what you deserve. Anger is related to courage, your willingness to move toward life and protect what you love, even in the face of danger. When you get lost, celebrate. In every great journey, heroes lose their way sometimes, doubt their own power, get lost and find yourself. Find presence, the breath, the beating of the heart. Take the giant step of not knowing which step to take, a perfect step. Trust the doubting too. And your path will find you moment by moment. Your true path cannot be lost ever. When you feel sorrow, celebrate. You are not numb. You have not closed your heart to the unwanted. You are wide open to life, sensitive. This old familiar friend has come to you for help. She is not a mistake. She only wants to warm herself by the fire of your presence, be given a space at the table next to joy. When you feel that you cannot celebrate life, celebrate. You are honest, you tell the truth of the moment, your eyes are open. Take a deep breath in through the nose, and let it out through the mouth. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And begin to hug your knees in towards your chest, giving yourself a nice, big, juicy hug. And then rolling off to one side, pausing there. With the help of your hands, push your whole body up to find your seat one last time. And we'll close with 2 deep breaths together, resting in our seats, palms resting on our legs. Take a deep breath in, filling the belly, filling the chest, rising the crown of the head. And then exhale, release. One more like that, flowing right into your inhale. This time, let out some sound. If you'd like to, you may bring your palms to meet at the center of your chest, bowing your chin in towards your chest, and taking a moment of gratitude for yourself for being here. And for the others in this shared space for creating this opportunity to rest, to find comfort and pleasure in your bodies. And thanks to you all for showing up. I'll be teaching this class for the next 10 weeks, so I hope to see you again.